Hi guys. Sorry.
Kasi yung concern ko kasi, like, if as a performer, like taking for example, it's been 10 years or 5 years ago, marami na kasing iba in terms of technique and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Maybe yung pinaka-updated, sir. Yung pinaka-latest na performance niyo.
Bawal kasi I don't perform any longer. I am a musical director na kasi. So musical directors don't normally get to perform na. So siguro ayun na lang. I'll just try to do another. I'll just try to redo another. Yun na lang din siguro. At least there's the point of comparison. I don't know, it's just for my reference. I'll just do a before and after. Yun na lang siguro. Wala namang specific, di po ba? Thank you.
Hi guys. Nag-chat si Director Shin. Ang lecturer daw for tonight is Jeong Kim. So I think it's she's a different lecturer from last time. And then sabi din dito si Professor Jeong Kim daw, siya magbibigay ng telepresence lecture for today without an interpreter. So yung Korean coordinator lang si Kim Jong-aan dito, but di din siya comfortable mag-English. So, if possible daw, when we speak, slowly na lang siguro and clear para, unlike last time. Anyway, that's all.
Another concern pala, last time kasi, di ba, as Filipinos, nasanay kasi tayo na tinatawag natin yung mga superiors natin as ma'am and sir.
True.
I think she got really offended with that. Why do you keep calling me ma'am? Siguro, Miss Kat, you're there.
Yeah.
Ayun.
Listening.
Remind na lang siguro sa kanya. It's not to offend or to insult. It's just basically a way of respecting them.
Naano ba siya? Na-offend siya? Sorry, hindi ko na ano.
I think it was, I don't know, si Ma'am Mary Grace yata yun or si Ma'am Martha.
Parang it sound off for her.
Oo, parang hindi siya comfortable when we call her
Kasi
ma'am or miss.
Para kasi sa kultura ng mga Koreano, pag tinawag mo kasi ma'am, parang ang tanda-tanda na. Kasi ano lang, we just get to explain na lang. We do not need to.
I see, na-offend pala. Sige, explain na lang natin next time sa next lecture niya. Since, I think, bago ang lecture now.
7, 8, 9, or complete. Andiyan na si Moises.
Actually, gusto ko din silang kausapin kasi na-awkward ako. Hindi ko alam paano i-pronounce ang name nila.
Mag-ask na lang tayo ng English name nila for it to be easier for everyone.
Oo. Hindi ko na yung... Hi, Jeong Kim. Are you there?
Hi. Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. My name, I'll just start with my introduction. My name is Ji-young Kim. I teach at Seoul Institute of the Arts, which is an art university in Korea, which I will explain and introduce you a little more. But first of all, I want to say I'm very happy, pleased to meet you like this and have this opportunity to share my experience and my experimentation and my struggles, and sometimes my joy in this never stopping discovery in arts. So the subject matter, which I think you already know, that I will be dealing for the next 4 weeks is telepresence and performing arts. Now, I only have a very small amount of information on this group. So what I know is, or what I was told is that all of you are going to be in a larger project after completing this workshop. Is that right? First of all, can you hear me? I should have checked. Okay, you can hear me.
Yes, I can
And
hear you clearly.
okay, good. And is English comfortable with everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, good. So if I'm speaking too fast, or if you don't understand, or if we have any technical problem, you can just raise your hand and we will handle it from there. So that was right. So you're going to be in a larger project after this workshop, and it's going to be a theatrical project that connects multiple locations with diverse nations, cultures, ethnicity. Am I right? Okay. So I find that really exciting because that's, I think, the reason why I'm here to share my my experience with you. So I'll just introduce myself a little better. I come from a theater background. I studied in my college days, I studied English literature, and that somehow got me into oral interpretation of literature. And that somehow led me to study performance studies. And then I got involved in theater, and I went on to my further studying theater and acting. And I was working as an actor. Also, I direct plays, I produce plays, and then I also teach. So that is basically my background. And it's funny because since I became a full-time faculty at my school, which I will introduce, it's a school that stresses a lot about art and technology. So me, coming from a traditional theater background and whom I considered myself quite analog, then I started to experiment using technology in my theater practicing art. And then, so this school has really reshaped me and introduced me to engage technology in a totally different way. So I experienced telepresence performances for the first time only a few years ago. And that somehow led me into get more involved in this. And the reason I'm telling you this is that even though I will talk about telepresence and theater, and I will talk about art and technology, I'm not coming from a technician point of view. I'm coming from a theater background. So I won't go much more into details about technology itself, but more of a planning these performances, or what it means, and what is, how does art relate to technology? So that's basically little bit of introduction of my background. Now, I know we're going to meet for 4 weeks. So if it's only one time, I will be very busy talking, and giving presentation. But since we have a little time to, we have some cushion to talk, right? Do you guys all know each other? Ah, okay.
No.
So you're just like me. You kind of like, when was the first time you all met?
Last week. We met last week.
Orientation.
During the orientation.
Okay,
Last
great.
Tuesday.
And did you guys have a chance to introduce yourselves a little bit?
Yes, last Wednesday.
Okay, 2 days ago.
Yes.
Okay. Then would you mind if you go through a short introduction so I know where you're coming from, what your agendas are, so that for the next 4 weeks, I can try to be more helpful in terms of like know where your interest is coming from? Would that be okay? And then I can start, I will show you the presentation, yes, the PowerPoint presentation I created, and we can start sharing. Okay, great. Who enlightens me first? Anybody?
안녕하세요. Kim Sung-nim.
Hi, Sir Carl.
안녕하세요.
Yes, my name is Carlo Ibeño. I'm the administrator of this program. I'm from the host organization. I'm usually coming in the first session, then I usually leave, ensuring that everybody is in their class.
Oh, so you're not taking the workshop, but you're kind of a manager?
Yes. We are the host
Okay.
organization here. So
Oh, I see. Okay.
and we just want to make sure that everybody is attending your class every Friday.
Oh, I hope everybody's up at my class every day.
Correct. But it's an interesting class. There's usually 2 of us here, just to make sure that they can follow up. If you need some follow up for them, we're here to assist as well for assignments or whatever, basically, from them. And
Okay,
also
thank you.
반갑습니다.
반갑습니다. It was very nice meeting you. Thank you.
감사합니다.
Okay, I'll go next.
Okay.
Hey, hello, Miss Kim. I am Josie Rex M. Soriano, but you can call me Tat. I am from Cagayan de Oro City, that is in Mindanao. And I am currently the artistic director of a repertory theater company in one of the universities here in Cagayan de Oro. So I also teach in senior high. I teach contemporary Philippine arts. And yeah, that's it. Our theater company has been working for 10 years, but I was just recently appointed as artistic director about 3 years ago. So just before the pandemic happened. So yeah, and I think this course would be very beneficial for us because we are really transforming all our productions into an online platform. How can we do that? And to really establish a presence in, especially in social media, is very relevant, especially this time. So that's a little bit about me. I also perform, and I also do films as well.
Okay, thank you. Cat. You said cat?
Tat, T-A-T.
Oh, tat. T-A-T. Okay. Oh, P-A-T. Pat.
T.
T. Okay, T. Thank you. Sorry.
I'll go next. Hi, everyone. My name is John Michael Lauron. My friends normally call me Miko. Miko is shorter, and it's a lot easier to memorize and to remember. Of all the participants, I think I get to manage. I get to manage a specific group, but it's not theater. It's a performing group. So I am more on the music side. I have worked as a musical director, arranger, composer. So I get to perform, I get to sing. I love musicals and operas. And currently, my line of work is actually not inclined to performing arts, especially with music. But because of that work, I am basically blessed to be here as well. So it gets to be connected. And I love languages. I have studied German, French, I know a little bit of Russian, Turkish, and a little bit more of other languages. Having been able to work outside the country for more than 15 years. Yeah. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Should I call you John, Michael, or Miko?
Whichever. Anything that's basically comfortable with you.
Okay.
So good evening, everyone. I'm Mary Grace Eulatic, but everyone calls me Grace. My experience is more on production work, specifically production management, and my specialty or strength is with managing events or workshops or training for others. My organizations, I am actually connected now. I am connected with Silay Institute as a full-time teacher. But I also have other affiliations like the UTeach Philippines, Negros Island, and the Performance Laboratory. With UTeach and Perf, what we do, we usually organize events or organize workshops for public school teachers because we are, I actually believe that I didn't have any talent. But as a cultural advocate, I put my passion in organizing workshops and trainings because we believe that giving workshops with teachers will give impact, bigger impact, because the teachers that we are teaching or the teachers that we are training will, what do you call this, uh, will give or will train also, or will return what they have learned from us to their students. And then on the side, I also write for film and theater. I have wrote 2 films for our church related activity. It's more on family values. The story is more on family values, as well as the theater that I wrote is also about family values. So, and then I get to perform in 2 films that I I also wrote. So that's my experience in performance. So I have performed in one of the film, and also when I joined the Tampok training this year in managing arts, we were also asked to perform one short patikim, one short film for as our output in that training. So it's an art of managing theater with the NCCA Tampok. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I'm next. Hello, everyone. Hello, Miss Kim. So,
Hello.
my name is Yanzi Dizon. I'm from Coronadal City, South Cotabato, here in the Philippines. So, um, experiences on theater. So, I've been in theater for more than or almost 6 years. And my forte when it comes to theater is performing. I'm an actor. And along the way, as an actor, I've learned on how to direct now. I already direct plays. I'm also a poet, and I have used my skills in poetry to write plays as well. So I have also written some plays that has been played by our production. So I am a member of the Apat sa Taglamig Productions Incorporated. And with regards to our topic, I think it would be very helpful. Since the pandemic came, our production didn't stop doing theater. So we strived hard in finding ways on how to continue theater in spite of the pandemic. So at first it was really hard, and I guess this workshop with you, Miss Kim, it would be very, very helpful in helping us the production by benchmarking, and also it would be a great help in managing also the production online. So thank you so much and good evening.
Thank you. Somehow on Zoom, this silence makes it very awkward, right? If it's in just in a room, it's not so bad. But on Zoom, it just feels really
Good evening, teacher. I think I'm next. I am Marjorie.
okay.
I am Marjorie Ulanday. My friends call me Marjo. I've been in teaching profession for 15 years, teaching Filipino and English subject. In theater arts, I've been teaching for 5 years. Within those 5 years, I was able to stage three recitals that I created a original piece. The way I train my students, I give the skeletal story or idea. I let my students deliver out impromptu lines because I want them to think what are the specific lines they would like to share on the said scene. Most of my recitals are more on fantasy because I like my students to feel that they are powerful, even in just in the performance. What I love about with my work is that I was able to, because before it was hard for me to promote the program because students does not like theater. They hate theater, but they love dancing, they love singing, but theater is very much hard to promote. But when I started the program, I was able to convince that from 5 students before, from the previous teacher, I was able to produce 30 students during my time. And that time, they were able to love theater. And that is the reason why every year they were able to renew being a student of theater arts. I remember I had a student before who was very silent, very quiet during his first year. But in the second year, he can already deliver the lines impromptu. And I feel proud of that. The two remaining years, we were not able to stage the piece because of pandemic. So I just kept the idea in my computer. The said piece, I was able to translate known songs from English into Filipino because I want to make the songs at home in the Philippines, especially to the students. Because if we say students, they love Tagalog or Filipino songs than English because they could easily understand. And last year, it's so hard for me because it was my first time to create a recital on cam or on posted online because we need to produce one. Even we were not able to shoot it together because of pandemic. Because what we did, we used online. They record themselves, and then we have the Zoom. We did a Zoom. So the story that I created is more on Zoom talking as if they were a family who are in different places and they have different dilemmas and they resolve the dilemma online through Zoom. So that's how the story goes. Just to answer and just to be able to produce recital during pandemic because I am not allowed to see my students up close and personal because of safety purposes. With this one, ma'am, I am really nervous because I think I know less and I need to know more. And that is the reason why I am here because I belong to public school, ma'am, where the budget is less and my students have no capacity to learn because of financial instability. So through this, maybe I will be able to learn that I could share to my students at the same time. Maybe I have something in me that I could also impart to the group. And because of that, I'll be able to learn and be able to love more the craft. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Miss Kim. Can I speak next?
Yes, sure.
Hello, Miss Kim, and good evening, everybody from the Philippines. Nice to meet you, Miss Kim. I am Juvir Iparagiri from from the Philippines, and I am currently teaching at Stratford International School, General Santos City, Philippines, for 5 years, particularly in senior high school and college students. And we are still conducting online classes. I have been a theater actor since 2013, and I am a member of MSU General Santos City Kapapagaria Ansam. In 2018, I had the opportunity to perform with Apat sa Taglamig Theater Productions. That's why I personally know Yancy, Ella, and Sir Carlo, as well as Sir Tat. And I am always grateful and thankful to Sir Jim, of course, who have introduced me in Apat sa Taglamig Theater Productions. And I am serving now as an on-call actor of that production team. And for me, I guess being in the academy, I realized that it has been a great advantage for us actors to gather our audience. I used to invite my students whenever I have my plays, especially before pandemic. So I used to teach theater. I use theater also in teaching. So theater is very helpful for us, especially teachers. Thank you and good evening, Ms. Kim.
Thank you.
Hello, Ma'am
Hello,
Kim. Good
Miss
evening.
Kim.
Hello.
I think I am the next, Ma'am Kira. Is it okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so first and foremost, I would like to say good evening to everyone. And good evening, Ma'am Kim. Good evening from magandang gabi from Philippines. Okay, so my name is Moises Diqueña Sobiera, but you can call me Moy for short. And I am presently connected to the Department of Education, Schools Division of South Cotabato, particularly in Lake Cebu National High School. I am the recently appointed Special Program in the Arts Coordinator of our school, the Drum and Art Coordinator of our school, and the Culture and Arts Coordinator of our school. And I am also a cultural and tourism advocate in our municipality. And I am a life member of the BNE Cultura, the Philippine Folk Dance Society. And way back in college, I was once a member of BNE Cultural Dance. And I am very glad and happy that I was able to be a part of this program. And I actually joined this program for my personal growth and professional development. So I am teaching MAPE, or Music, Arts, Physical Education, and Health. And at the same time, I am teaching theater arts. Actually, I don't have any formal training when it comes to theater arts. And the last time I remember I performed theater arts way back, that was 2004 or 2003, during my high school years. However, I am teaching theater arts grade 7 and 8 in our school. And I am more into dances, cultural dances, and folk dances. I also serve as coach and mentor of the different or various competitions in our school, anything about performing arts, both division, region, and provincial. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Moy.
Hello, Miss Kim. I'm Kira. I'm 56, 46, 56 Philippines. You know? So actually, yes, I am new on a theater performance. I usually do extemporaneous speaking, more on the speaking side, and acting via online classes. I do voice acting for animated infomercials. Yes, but my forte is for kids, the approach for the voice and everything. And I love storytelling. And I don't have any formal learning on this one, but last year I did direct a short film yeah, for during the pandemic, it's called Stay Safe. It's about domestic violence against women in times of pandemic. So I would want to know more about telepresence in order for me to also teach my team and also the actors, because a good teacher is not only through theories but rather through actions to show your staff. So I want to know more about how I do it, yeah, myself, so that when I direct people I can really show it for them to really understand. So yeah, that's what I'm aiming for this course. Thank you.
Thank you, Kira.
Hello, Miss Kim. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Um, my name is Ella Mariel Pagdato. I'm from Coronadal City, South Cotabato. I am a member of Apatutag Language Stage Play Production, and I am a student of Mindanao State University, and I am currently earning my degree in Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Business Management. My degree is different from my field of expertise. However, my passion is really amphitheater. I am the chief stage manager of Apatutaglamig Productions, and through time, I developed my acting skills as I work in stage. I have learned so much and was able to apply it in full in my home and of course in the community. Um, I also work with films, with short films. Um, just to share with everyone, I have film that will be showing on August 22 for CCP's Gawad Alternativo. It was a created film. It's not competition. And yeah, I do voice acting and also yeah, the film, the stage acting. Yeah, I actually joined this training because our artistic director always told me that it would be a great opportunity to know more about technical theater. Yeah, so that's it, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think I'm the last one, right? Everyone did introduce themselves, correct? So, 안녕하세요. My
안녕하세요.
name is
Oh, did I lose the? Did we lose her?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Ah, Mai, right? I guess she will be back. um, well, that was everybody, I think, right? Mai was the last person. So we'll hear from her when she comes back. But okay, this was very helpful for me to know who we all are, where we're coming from. And it seems like it's a very rich group of there's a artistic directors, there are dancers, actors, performers, musicians, production managers, and most of you are teachers. So this is connected with arts and education, filmmaker, voice actors. So there's a lots of similarity, but also it's across genres. So it's interdisciplinary group, which is very exciting. Also, the words, the vocabularies you used were keep popping up was pandemic, which we are, the whole world is heavily influenced under. So it should be everybody's agendas, especially for the performing arts, because we will talk about this in the next 4 weeks. But what does it mean and where do we go from now on? Is this a crisis or is this an opportunity? It really depends on how we look at it, I think. So a pandemic was keep popping up. There were also identity. Some people were talking about the identity or the education, storytelling. These were the words that I could hear when you were giving an introduction. So I think it suits very well to the topic I was thinking about giving to today. So should we just move on to the presentation? And oh, before I do that, I thought I would like to share that I've been to the Philippines few times in the recent years. The first time was, I don't know if you guys must know PETA, right? Yes. So I was there at the 50th anniversary festival in Manila. I think that was 2017. And then I was again the following year or 2 years after in Bohol, because we were doing a project together to maybe establish an art college in Bohol. So I was meeting the governors and the officers in Bohol, and I was learning about the island and the culture. And then my last time was, I think, few months after that, but it was for the Asian Pacific Performing Arts Conference, I think, hosted by NCCA in Manila. So I was recently there. It was, of course, before the pandemic, but from there I was able to watch Filipino theater and dance, and also I've noticed that people from the Philippines, they have so much passion. They love singing and enjoying life. So that was my impression, and I'm also excited that in the next few weeks I'll get to learn more about where you're coming from as well. So this becomes an act of sharing, just like in the theater, right? Okay, that being said, let me go with this. Now, do you see the what do you
Yes.
see? Yes, you see the the presentation. Okay. Okay. So as we said, we covered the telepresence and performing arts, and which will be a discourse on art and technology. So, yeah. So let me just move on to the next one. Okay, these are the questions I thought that will be an anchor questions for the next 4 weeks, because art and technology. I want to think about, technology definitely makes our lives better, right? That's how we are connecting right now, but yet it also destroys it at the same time. Something we're trading, and it reflects the world where we're living. And nowadays we live in a very scary world where we are fighting against germs, a virus, which stops us from gathering. We cannot socially gather any longer. Somehow it's prohibited, right? And at some parts in the world, women's and children's rights are being horrendously violated at this moment, which is also very scary. Also, a world where politics is pulling us apart from one another. And I want to believe I'm an optimist, but I also fear that this world is somehow shifting us further away from unity. And it's it's finding its ways to isolate us, divide us, separate us. So what can we do to resist this trend, right? We as an artist or technologist or a global citizen, so what can we do? What can we do to help map out a positive future, a sustainable future? I think those are the questions that we will have to think about. So what role does technology play in our lives, right? Or how does art relate to technology? These are the questions. I think as we go on, I hope this list will get longer and longer, because it will, like, we will start asking these questions. Now, what is the role of culture in the post-pandemic world? What is the role of an artist in the post-pandemic world? What values do we hold on to? What's the message we have? And what's our responsibility as storytellers? So I think I learned art can be used as a tool to bring people together. It's about connecting humans. And that's why I like this Zoom thingy, because it connects us, right? Like, we are being connected right now and we're sharing our thoughts. So that's what art also does. It has the necessity to engage artists and also the local communities. So it's all about interaction. And I'd be very happy to share my discovery with you today in these terms. And anytime if you have a question, I can't see you anymore because I have this presentation window. So just say something and I'll stop talking. And also let me know if you need a break. I don't want to make you overtired. So I would like to talk about our schedule for the next 4 weeks. The first week is today. I want to introduce the school, my school, Seoul Institute of the Arts, and Culture Hub activities, which soon I will jump into. Culture Hub is one of the most unique things about my school. It consists of literal hubs, like studios in major cultural cities around the world. And it's a hub connecting diverse artists around the world. So I'll talk about the cultural programs today and present some cases to show telepresence work and how art and technology can provide a very fertile foundation to create new forms of arts. Okay. Now, the second week, I'd like to delve more into today. So how, since pandemic, our world is changing. I'll probably ask at the end of today to think about this. And so we can talk about this next week. And so what is changing since the pandemic? And what does it mean for the performing arts? What changes are we facing? So let's talk about these things. On the third week, I would like to continue to talk more about telepresence and its use in performing arts in general. So today I will talk about the work our school has been doing, which is kind of a forerunner, but not everybody can do that kind of work. So in 2 weeks' time, we can talk about what we as an individual artist can do. And we can talk more and more about the virtual space, the virtual reality, because telepresence is all about this virtual space and how telepresence technology can connect us all together, not only across the physical world, but also in the virtual world. And lastly, the last week, I would like to open up and have a discussion. So what we have learned in the last 3 weeks, what kind of a process, thought process did we make? What are you thinking? And how can you apply what you've learned to your own art practice making? Because we will have to be able to apply, right? So we will talk about these things. And probably at this time, you can also teach me about the Philippines, the performing arts market, or the trends in the Philippines. And we, as all fellow artists, we can brainstorm together what our next steps would be as artists. Okay, so these are the schedule that I am planning to do with you. There's one thing I would like to point out. The third week is not on a Friday because I had a prior engagement from long time ago, which I could not reschedule. So I've asked the host from Korea to switch it to another day, and he suggested probably it'll be on a Saturday. So I just wanted to inform you on this ahead of time, and I apologize that I won't be able to keep it on this Friday thing on September 3rd. So now I would like to talk about Culture Hub. Now, what is Culture Hub? It's a global art and technology community. It has multiple locations, hubs. Right now we have 5 hubs, one in Korea, one in New York, one in Los Angeles, one in Italy, and one in Bandung, Indonesia. So we have these 5 hubs, which I will explain more. But I want to talk about the philosophy behind Culture Hub first. Culture Hub envisions a world where creativity has no boundaries. So it's all connected. So it's dedicated to bringing artists together around the world to develop interdisciplinary and socially engaged work that in search of new forms of art and new expressions. So basically, the vision of Culture Hub started from a very simple idea, the internet. How can we use the internet and other digital technologies to connect different places across the world? And how can this be used as a model for how people can interact and create with the barriers that separate us? Because usually if we're geographically in a different space, we already have limitations. So now I want to let you know this happened much before the pandemic. Now Zoom is in our everyday life. So this cannot be, it doesn't feel so innovative. But if we imagine only 2 years ago, meeting on Zoom was totally a foreign language for us, right? It was for me. And now Zoom is a verb now. Should we Zoom? You know, it's just so many things happened in the last 2 years. So, but this notion of using the internet to connect different worlds, this Culture Hub started from more than 10 years ago. So you have to know that this it was quite a vision when it started. And also it believes in this one world vision, that art can be used as a tool to bring people together, and technology helps this. So it's not about the technology itself, but use the technology as a tool. So before I go more into, I will show you this introduction video. So this will become your first impression, and then I can explain more. I just want to check if you can hear the sound. So I will start for like 4 seconds and then stop and see if everybody can hear it. Okay. Can you hear? Oops, I moved back. Can you hear it? Okay, okay. So I will.
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
Yes,
so
Miss
let's go
Kim.
and watch this. sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Sorry. Let me just pull it. Okay, sorry about earlier accident. Um, so how so I guess that gave you kind of an impression. It's just a lot of information and it just looks very high tech. But actually it started very humble. So I will explain a little bit more about a culture hub. It's a global art and technology community. It was able to create an creative ecosystem of artists and audience from multi-nations, multi-ethnicities, cultures, races, identities. So, and it's for cultural and artistic exchanges. It's intercultural, cross-cultural, intergenerational, and interdisciplinary. And I want to talk about the philosophy because it's an art education, right? I will explain a little more about the school, but the main philosophy is you have to know your own cultural identity. So it starts from learning the Korean culture and art, and it meets the global cultural trend. And then somehow the paradigm shifts, and then it becomes a new model in art education, which is globalized and it's fostering cultural human resources and integrate and produce new materials. So it advances the work of a global community, artists, and experiments with emerging technologies. Now it's basically, it's a lot of words, but it's about knowing your root. Once you know your roots, and then you can fly. And it also, when I was traveling in Bali, they told me, the Balinese people told me they worship banyan tree. I don't know if you know banyan tree. It's a very thick trees, and they kind of they put a cloth around the tree because they worship it. And I asked, why do you worship? Like, what's the reason behind it? And they told me, the seed for banyan tree, it's very tiny. And then you plant it. It's a tiny seed, but then from that tiny seed, the roots are like, it's huge and it just spreads out really underground. And they told me that because the roots are so strong, that once it has a strong roots, then it can mix with any other, it meets what you call is strong winds or in a really bad weather, but it grows really, it's very grounded. And then I was thinking about this philosophy. So after that, I started liking banyan trees as well. Just, it just reminded me of that. Okay, So I would like to talk about the core values of Culture Hub. It's fostering interdisciplinary creative practices. It's just like the group, our group, when I asked like, what's your background, where you're coming from, and it had really diverse backgrounds. So it's about this. It's about mixing different genres and creative practices. So naturally, then it creates an environment where diversity thrives, right? Because there are many different kinds of people together. It promotes cross-cultural, intergenerational collaboration. It explores the relation of humanity and technology. So technology becomes a tool. And then naturally, it develops humane technologies. So, and then art as a vehicle for personal and social transformation. And it focuses on the intersection of art, produce socially engaged and technologically informed work, and focus on the intersection of art, technology, and science. And finally, it establishes a global network for collaboration and exchange. So these are the core values. Okay. Now, the location, I told you that we have 5 physical studios around the world at the moment. And it's our hubs are actually in the last 10 years being recognized by many international institutes. And they've been asking our school to join them as a partner. So we've been asked to expand, which is very exciting. And actually, I told you before that 2 years ago, I was invited to Bohol to meet officers from the state, and they were very interested in this Culture Hub system, and they have asked the possibility to become a potential collaborator. So we started talking, and then the pandemic happened. So we're kind of like putting on hold for immediate collaboration. Now, these are the physical studios. Sorry, they're in Korean, but you can see the one in Seoul. There's one in Italy, and then 2 in the United States and 1 in Indonesia. So we envision that within 10 years, this will grow more into even more diverse global network with hubs in Asia, Australia, South America, Africa, and Europe. And this network will provide values to our international partners by increasing the mobility of the artists, both digitally and physically. Like right now, we cannot, it's very difficult for us to physically travel, but we're somehow finding ways to digitally meet or have a digital audience somewhere. So we're already going there. And also we would like to provide an innovative platform for cross-cultural exchanges and education. And so we can serve as a highly interdisciplinary environment so that art could investigate our relationship from technology to the society we live in. So I'll just continue a little more and then we'll take a break because or do you guys need to break right now? No answers. So can I just go on for like 5 more minutes and then we'll take a break?
Yes, Ms. Kim.
Yes, ma'am. Just go on, ma'am.
Okay. So I want to talk about then who created this Culture Hub business. So we have 2 founders. One is the Seoul Institute of the Arts. It was established in 1962. It started as a drama school, and now it's expanded into an art college. Let's see. So this is the campus you see right now. It's one of the most prestigious art institute in Korea, and also has the longest history as an art institute in Korea. Now, we started as a drama school and now we have 15 different majors. So we have theater, we have acting, we have dance, we have traditional music, applied music, film, broadcasting, digital arts, creative writing, interior design, visual design, photography, and arts management, creative advertisement. So these are all the different majors. And we produced many alums. So, you know, Hallyu, Korean Wave, we produced lots of Korean stars, actors, singers in the K-pop industry, but also the people behind the camera. So the producers, writers, designers, filmmakers, directors, lots of alums. Yes, actually, the former president has a very close tie with somebody from the Philippines. I don't know if you know her, but from my impression, when I was visiting the Philippines, I feel you might know her, Cecile Guido Alvarez. I don't know. She is the former president of PETA. Anyway, so she won this Maka award. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that word, but she won lots of numerous theater awards in the Philippines. Anyway, she is a very dear friend with our former president, and that's why we had lots of projects together in the Seoul Institute of the Arts and the Philippines. And I find it a very nice coincidence that somehow, without knowing this connection, the host asked me to give a lecture with the Philippines network. So I found it very interesting that somehow this is also like connected like this. Okay, so the next founder, I'll talk about this and then we'll get a little break, is La Mama Experimental Theater. Now, I don't know if you know this theater in New York. It's off Broadway, very famous, and it has a very international network to it. And our school has a very close partnership for more than 30 years with La Mama. So La Mama was founded by Ellen Stewart, who is a theater legend, in 1961. This is the only original off-Broadway venue still in operation up to today. So it was founded to support international artists from all over the world without the pressure of having to make a commercial success. And that's why it has the spirit of off-Broadway. Up to today, it has this uncensored creative freedom where artists from all backgrounds can come and show their work. So it supports all these artists. It has supported more than 50,000 productions featuring 150,000 artists from 70 nations. And most of the shows were the world premieres. So these two institutes, both Seoul Institute of the Arts and La Mama, have been collaborating for more than 30 years. So Culture Hub was a natural extension of this relationship. So I mentioned earlier, the very basic idea was to use the internet to connect the two institutes. Because the two institutes were so close, they wanted to kind of do the project together. And they thought, okay, let's explore the internet. Maybe we can use this internet so we can create a new model of interaction. So that means it started to explore where artists can collaborate in real time over the physical distances. So it explored how digital technology, the internet, can be layered in these venues. And that means, yes, it used telepresence for, it started using telepresence for production meetings like Skype, like Zoom, right? And then it moved on to distant learning tools. So we used it as an education. And then it also started to invest in developing artistic work that are not fixed in one geographic location, but it uses multiple locations. And then it started using not only theater, but it started experimenting with dance, theater, music, visual art, installation, and nowadays the new media. So that is the basic history of the founders and the relationship and how Culture Hub was founded. So I'll stop right there and let's take a little break. Usually, how long of a break do you take? I'll follow your rules.
This is the first time that we'll have a break for a formal class.
Oh, really? What happened? Didn't you have another class on Wednesday?
We had introduction, short class. Yeah, we ended early.
Oh, okay. So you guys, so many of you are teachers, so I'm sure you guys had Zoom classes in the past month. Usually, what kind of a break do you take?
Really depends on the rules of the professor. So some professors would like to go on, so they allow us to like have coffee drink while listening, so that the class won't be disrupted.
Oh, okay. No, I'm against that. Let's have a real break, a fresh break, so you guys can stretch your legs. Then I will just suggest we take 10 minutes break. Isn't that okay? So in my time it's
Okay, ma'am.
8:12. I think at your time it's 7:12. So let's meet in 10 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Happy, ma'am.
Alright.
Happy, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Hi, are we back?
Hello, ma'am.
Okay. For some reason I can't. Okay. So is the tempo okay? Am I talking too slow? Am I talking too fast? Give me
It's
some
good,
feedback.
ma'am. It's good, ma'am.
It's good. Okay. 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 So let's continue. Yeah. Okay. So I will just go through a short history of how we established. We're just going to talk about the physical spaces, and then we'll talk about the hardware, and then we'll move on to the software. And I have a feeling today I won't finish what I prepared. I will just, continue next week so that it's not too much of information. I realize that translation, because sometimes it really stops the rhythm. But still, even though I think it's taking more time than I thought anyway. So it started in 2007. We established our very first studio in Ansan, Korea. That's where our campus is, our main campus is. So we built a building called Art and Technology Expression Center. So that's where we do mainly all the Culture Hub activities. So now the photo, oops. Okay, so what you see is the main studio. You can see the screens. As you can see 3 screens, and we're using the rear projector, which means the projector is located behind the screen. The good thing about rear projectors is that if you use the rear projector, the actors can move freely in front of the screen without creating a shadow. So all these lighting problems and the shadow problems get solved, but you have to trade for, because you need the depth in the back. So when you have a smaller space, you can't use the rear projector because you can barely put the screen on the wall. But if you put the screen on the wall, then you'll have to use the front projector. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you that we're using 3 screens and a rear projector, and we use a telepresence system hardware. We used Polycom in the beginning, and then we moved on to Cisco. Now, these hardware programs are very, very, they're not cheap. It's the initial investment was quite substantial, and that's why it had our disadvantages. Now, nowadays, the Culture Hub Studio developed a software program that you can connect with only the internet. So that's a good news. Anyway, you can see that as we use the 3 screens in a different purpose. So you can see in the very first top photo, you see it's called Ansan. So the left one, you see that we use it to show what's happening in the room, and also the very right one also. And then in the middle screen is we're getting the live feed from New York. So that's how we did a theater show. The bottom one you can see is actually we did music performance. So they were all connected from Los Angeles, and then we have our musicians in the room, so we could do music together. Now this is quite challenging because the music, if you have a little bit of a delay, the harmony would get very disrupted. So this is a technological a challenge to have no delay, which naturally happens unless you have a very strong connection. Okay, so this is our studio. I just wanted to show you the studio. And then now in 2009, we established New York studio and at La Mama Theater. So we established mirrored hubs, which means that they look like identical twins. So once we have that, then we started to have a physical setting to explore the art and technology intersection. So these are the photos of the New York studio facilities. As you can see, if you might be able to recognize, it's very, I told you, it looks like identical twins. So we use the 3 screens and projectors. And so we could, it's when you have an identical studio, you can have lots of possibilities to play around. So now that we could connect with each other, there were so many challenges that started. I'm just going to ask you a question. What do you think? What can you just imagine? Let's imagine. What do you think the challenges were? It's not a quiz. Just it's just
coordination, Ms. Kim. Coordination.
Coordination of what?
Of the different artists, from technicals to everyone involved. I think logistics wise.
Right. Definitely, logistically planning was a nightmare. You have to know which artist to whom and who does what. Yes, that was also very challenging. But also, it happens in any production, right? with the planning. Something about telepresence, it's really, really difficult. What do you think could be?
Ma'am?
Yes, Kira.
Yes. So what I think, because we're using technology, and since this is done in different locations, as you've mentioned, connectivity, the internet connection is really one of the things that really matters at this production, because if one weaker internet connection, then there would be delay for the whole show.
Right. Yes, the connection is like the stability, right? The bandwidth, the latency. These becomes a technical problem. And also, as I'm trying to remember everybody's names, and was it Tat?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Tat, right? Yeah. As Tat mentioned, the planning. Also, the cost is also, it's a very initial investment, as I told you, was very substantial. Also, it's a practical thing, the time difference. Now, New York and in Korea, we have 13 hours difference. So if it's day at this time, it's night at that time. So for the artist to physically be in the studio, it's the time difference is also very challenging. Also, a language is also a barrier, because you need to communicate, and it becomes all these problems, marketing, right? The planning, coordination, cost, all these things were really, it's especially the cost. It's like we have this really nice phone, and I want to use it with my friend's devices, and I can't, because they have to be in the same, they need the same hardware like what I have. So this was kind of very frustrating, but now the time has changed, and now we have the new technologies that makes this lighter. The devices can be much lighter, and it's easier for us to connect. So now we're able to expand our network more and more. But the problems, as Tat said, the planning part, the language different, the time difference, these things, you just have to work around with it. And also what I think, I'm really, was it Kira who told me that the connection was also a huge problem? Is it's always so thrilling to be involved in these performances, because you're totally depending on the technology, the connection. And if something goes wrong, then the audience you just have to wait. Remember in this room when I was asking to give a self introduction and there was this awkward silence. Yeah, so that's what happens in the theatrical production. There's this awkward silence waiting for, for this delay. So those were the initial challenges we had. Now, but since we're making lots of improvement in the last 10 years, this is also proof that I'm here with you to talk about my experience, like to share what kind of difficulties I had to go through. So this means that our work or our effort has begun to be recognized, which is kind of exciting. Okay, so then in Los Angeles, we started off from, well, the reason that we're there 2 years is in 2010, we started renting a small office at our partner university. It's California Art Institute, and we call it CalArts. We rented a small office in CalArts, and we started to run joint classes together and experimented with joint workshops, especially in dance and music. So it was great. But as our Culture Hub activities became more active, we wanted to be a little more independent, where we could have more facilities we wanted. So we established our own studio in 2016. And this is how it looks like. So it's much smaller. And now you may recognize by now, we still have 3 screens on the 3 walls this time. Because we don't have the space luxury as the one before. So now the screens are on the wall and we use front projectors. So in this LA studio, we do lots of joint classes and workshops. And we started experimenting more and expanding more. So we expanded into Italy in 2014 in Spoleto. And our newest studio was established in Indonesia, in Bandung, in the city of Bandung, at a university, an excellent university called ITB, Bandung Institute of Technology. So these are the studios. You can see the top ones is in Italy, and the bottom one is in Indonesia. It's the president. You can see on the screen we connected with Korea for the first time, so we were celebrating. So on the left screen is the room. The remote is the room in Indonesia, and on the right side is in Korea. So we were able to connect the 2 studios. Okay. So I mentioned we created mirrored hubs in New York and in Korea, right? So now let's look at the hardware system we created, how we used to create these physical hubs. So, and I warned you before, I'm not a technician, so I'm not going to go into much details with the system. So this is the diagram. We furnished our room like that. We used 3 projectors with 3 screens. The right side is Seoul Institute of the Arts. The left side is Culture of New York. So they look identical, and we are connected with online. So this is the type of the system we used, and we'll go a little more into details. This is the system we built in Indonesia in 2018. Now you can notice on the top of the page on the far right top corner, it says 2018. So at that time, these were the ideal models. And in the past 3 years, it changed so much that this will considered now quite old. So you can see the 3 cameras. We have the video switcher. I'm just going from left to right. For some reason, I can't use my pointer here. And we have the codec to abstract, to shrink the data. And then we have the 3 projectors. Now you see the YouTube thingy that says live streaming. Now that is the telepresence systems. Now in the beginning, we used Polycom telepresence hardware system, and then we moved on to Cisco. So these are the telepresence systems which uses a local area network, LAN, to connect geographically apart computers, right? Both Polycom and Cisco provide an advanced video conferencing system. So, and high definition video, high sound quality. It's designed to link two physically separated rooms so they resemble a single room. So telepresence hardware systems are highly integrated multi-codec, multi-monitor, multi-microphone, and multi-channel speaker systems, which is the diagram you see. So the objective of these telepresence system is to present interactive video and audio between locations with near lifelike audio quality and near life-size video images. So the Zoom we use right now is a very low quality shape. So it's just, you can say that Zoom is also telepresence software program, but you don't have that many multi-functions. So these are the system we built. And now we looked into the physical spaces, right, of these hubs and the basic layout of the hardware systems. So sometimes we think that's all, but no, actually the more important or the most important thing would be the content, right? Having these systems is by no means a replacement of a travel, right? Nothing will replace, ever replace being in the same room together. But these platforms we created have the potential for sustaining the existing relationship and helping us develop new ones. So now the question is, what do we do with these hardwares? What kind of a storytelling do we do? And whom do we collaborate with? These are all the questions that we have to solve. And Culture Hub programs are divided into 3 different areas. So the basic idea is, of course, about cultural exchange, right? It's facilitating, excuse me, the cultural exchanges between artists from different countries, right? And we're also dedicated to break down barriers between diverse disciplines, so it becomes naturally interdisciplinary, right? And these days, artistic practices are becoming increasingly more complex and interdisciplinary. So in response to this ever-changing tools, Culture Hub has adopted a multifaceted approach which spans into 3 distinct areas. So the culture programs are divided into 3. First one is education. Right? We apply this creative research into our educational environments and use in the classroom as a place for experimentation. And then with what we've learned or what we've explored in the classroom, we move on to dedicate to develop and present art and technology projects, which is the production. So we do these telepresence productions. And then we also do R&D, research and development. So we support research and development initiatives, which is both technological and story driven, right? So these 3 programs are the major cultural programs, but most importantly, all this effort is dedicated to develop a strong community so that we can learn from each other and push towards new forms. And I believe that's why we all do arts, why we tell a story, right? To share. So now I want to show you some examples from each sections, some samples from the education, some samples from the production, and some samples from the R&D areas. Now, first I'll start with the education samples. We have regular classes, which are 15-week curriculum, where we connect 2 or more hubs at the same time. So we can bring in international artists into the Culture Hub studio and we can learn. Every semester we present 5 to 6 different classes in music, theater, design, media, and I'm happy to show you some examples. And also, besides the regular classes, we also do lectures, special lectures or short-term workshops. So the very first photo you see is a design class. It's on a class on typography. So they're creating new typography. It's connected with Indonesia and Korea. So they learn about different culture and how to make a typo. So they design a new typo coming from understanding each other's cultures. And now on the bottom, on the left one is a lecture on a theater practitioner. And then on the middle one is a workshop on how to use video, or how to use camera. And the one on the far right is also a workshop where students from traditional music department. So you see the 4 musicians on the floor and you connect it with Los Angeles. So they were trying to perform together at the same time. So we have these special lectures from the international artists. So from an administrative side, this is very economic, as you don't have to fly in the artists every time you want them to meet your students, right? You just arrange with the local hubs and ask the artist to go into that hub and give a lecture. Now, I noticed this when I was arranging these photos, I noticed this was all before the pandemic started. And only 2 years ago, up to 2 years ago, education was a collective experience, right? All the students meet in one place, right? And even with this Culture Hub education program, you share the big screen, right? You listen together. The experience itself was very collective. And now I notice we are in this Zoom era. And many things started to become very individualized experience, right? We all connect with our own devices at our home or at our choosing of the place. We all log in individually, right? We now have an option to stop. We can leave the meeting room, or we can stop and pause. And sometimes if it's a recorded material, we can stop anytime, pause, and come back when we want, right? So education also started to change. It's becomes more consumer oriented. And this trend doesn't look like it's gonna be temporary. I have a feeling it's just the beginning of a much greater change. And that's what I noticed just arranging these photos in this slide, that, oh, everybody's together. And this only happened like 2 years ago, right? And this becomes already foreign to me, that they're no wearing masks, and it was kind of a shock. So I'm just sharing my thought about this because I remember the moment when I was putting the photos here together and I just noticed, oh my God, they're not wearing masks. So I hope we'll be able to talk about these things in the next few weeks with what happened as the arrival of the pandemic, right? Okay, so now I'm going to show you a video. This was a very, very early stage of an experiment as a class project. You see, it says Romeo and Juliet 2009. So this was when we just started connecting the 2 hubs. So it's a very, very early stage. And I think everybody knows Romeo and Juliet. It's an impossible love. So it meant more impossible because not only because of your family background, now this time they were the Romeo and Juliet were thousands and thousands of kilometers away from each other, so it became a really, really impossible love story. Also, we put this was a class project, so it was not a professional production, but we had the audience both in New York and in Korea watching this. So it became a communal experience of watching from Romeo in New York and Juliet in Korea. So we won't watch the whole, it's an excerpt, but I'll just start from the beginning and stop. Just show me your thumbs if you hear the sound, okay? Because after the break, we never know what happens to the technology. Okay? Did you hear that? Oh yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, I keep doing this wrong thing, okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, start again. So what you're seeing is Juliet and the spirit of Juliet, and she falls. And now we're connected to with New York. It's a rehearsal, not the final presentation. So they're in their rehearsal space. So they were trying to create an illusion that Romeo and Juliet are connected. And somehow transported into Korea. Okay, I'll just stop here. So it was about playing with the notion of how to transcend the space and time, because that's what telepresence is all about, right? It's going across the space and time. So they were playing around with this. They were experimenting as a very first project. And it was very surprising. It was very experimental back in those days to try this and have two sets of audience. And also with this time difference, it was crazy that when you wanted to rehearse, somebody had to sacrifice. It had to be either somebody had to come at 1 o'clock in the morning and vice versa. So it was quite challenging. Okay, now I want to show you another example. This was from an exchange between our school and students at Sarah Lawrence College, which is in upstate New York in the USA. So both students developed a science fiction narrative based on a short story, and it was called Return. And it was about an astronaut in space who returns to Earth after his space journey. And when he just returns and he realizes that everybody on Earth has aged while he stays the same. So so he's not welcomed anymore because nobody recognizes him. So this was a class called multimedia puppetry class. So we used puppets to kind of use telepresence. And it's everything you see. I'm gonna give you some excerpts. Everything you see is live. So what they did was they mixed They were happening. It's happening at the same time. So there's an actor in Korea, and there are objects in New York that are flying. So it's like a puppet, and they're mixed together live. So the audience would be sitting in both sides again and watching the actor just acting by himself. And also next to it on the screen, you see how it's mixed. So people usually, when they watch this, they think it was, it's edited afterwards, but no, this is not an edited version. This is live version. So let me show you few parts. Because this is a long video, I'm just gonna show you some parts. So the main puppet is in Korea, and these objects of cars are mixed. So they're coming from New York feed. I'll show you another part. So this becomes a mixed media part. Okay. So again, the main puppet is in Korea. And you see the media effect. That's the effect that New York studio is creating. So this was the miniature set that in New York studio, the students created. So they're juxtaposing the astronaut coming back to the Earth and not recognizing anything familiar. So I'll forward a little bit to show you This was also a miniature set in New York. So you can see it's has a cinematographic method and also very theatrical at the same time. So they were juxtaposing different styles, like a collage. And I'll show you a little bit more. Yeah, okay. Here. Now it changed. It's now the puppeteers are in New York, because before the puppeteers were in Korea. So now it's the New York puppeteers, and we used a Korean actor, just a face, and mix it, juxtapose it there. And you can see they're using bunraku style, the Japanese puppet, traditional puppeteer style, where they covered their faces and 2 to 3 people operate one puppet. So this was a very interesting experience for an audience to watch a live actor lie down and you at the same time see this New York feed coming in and mixing. And that's how we used all the 3 screens.
Dear Mr.
Okay, yeah. So I will wait a second. I can't operate my Zoom window suddenly. Can you hear me? I'm still with you guys, right?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
okay. I can't, I somehow the Zoom window disappeared, so I can't really see any of you, but I'll move on to the next class. The multimedia puppetry class moved on with a different partner, and then we started experimenting with Indonesia. So Indonesia, they have this very strong shadow puppet tradition. So we started mixing the shadow method and started experimenting with the students in Indonesia and in Korea to create another storytelling. This one I'm not going to go into right now because I think I will be able to show you more samples in a few more weeks. But here we created a story called Ramanaya, which is this very well-known Hindu story. And we used live streaming and motion capture and traditional shadows, and we made them as a digital puppet. And also all the designs were done from Indonesian students. So we juxtaposed the very analog aspect and very digital aspect together. So you can see that on the left screen, it's the actor. We filmed it and created some visual effects live. So the actor, the character become much bigger of a life-size character who was this evil villain. And on the right side, you see that we used the shadows and the live performers. So it was about playing with the shadows. So those were the experimentation we had. Okay, now I'm just gonna, let me try to, oh, no, I'll go back. Okay, so now this is one of the special lectures we had. And this was a very special lecture because we were able to connect 3 hubs at the same time. So we connected Culture Hub New York, and we invited this artist called Jin-hee Kim and Benton Bridge. Jin-hee Kim was one of the first artists to use Korean traditional instruments electronically. So she created she calls a robot. So this traditional instrument is called komungo, and she made a robot so it would play itself. So she was exploring this aspects of it, and she combined it with the use of lasers in her live performance with a sensor. So there was this live visual processing. So as she was presenting her work, we connected with Indonesian Culture Hub Studio as well. So what I want to really put focus here was this 3 channel lectures. And it was the first time we tried after we established our newest studio. Now the time difference was crazy. New York and Korea is 13 hours difference. Korea and Indonesia is 2 hours difference. So it's altogether 15 hours difference. And we did it at Korean time 10 a.m., which was at 9 p.m. in New York time. And Indonesia, it was at 8 a.m. in the morning. So all these students in Indonesia had to come at 7 in the morning to take this class. So this lecture was to share the experience of using a traditional instrument and making it as an instrumental robot. So as we were doing this lecture, suddenly from the culture of Bandung, we didn't know there was somebody sitting, Dr. Eko, who had invented an traditional Indonesian instrument called angklung. I don't know if you know it, but it's a bamboo. It's made of bamboo, and it's it makes this. It's a beautiful instrument, and he invented he combined a robot and with this traditional instrument called angklung, and he suddenly started speaking, and there were 2 artists suddenly, one from New York, one from Indonesia, and they just started talking about their common interests and exchange their experiments, exchange their thoughts, and it became suddenly a place where they could truly connect. And I remember sitting there being amazed at this, witnessing this, what telepresence does. It connects. It was just like, it was beautiful connection, and it became very humane. It was a human connection, a connection with your own experiences, and you make new friends, and it's the artists they would possibly never have met if they didn't have this opportunity. And it was happening just sitting in their local office, like our local hub. So I found that very beautiful, and it was very touching. So this is the photo taken from Korea. And if I do this photo is from New York studio. So you could, it's also very exciting to see that this is happening live. Okay, now, oh yeah, now that's enlarged. And this was quite a big event. It was called Art and Digital Tech. It was a global conference that took place in Seoul in 2020 in February. This was not a school project, but they actually asked us to produce this event. So it was funded by Art Council Korea. And we used our culture of studios to bring in 3 different artists from 3 different places. And we were able to put everybody together on one stage. So in the main square photo, you see 3 men sitting on a chair. That's the only actual people, live people on stage. And on the left side is the artist from New York. And we used hologram. So it was a hologram technique. And then on the right side is the artist from LA. And you see the 2 circle photos is the remote studios, like how it was designed. So on the left side, you see the artist, right? And you also see the lady on the back. That was the curator, to Untre, which is projected on the upper screen on the actual site. So this you can see like how everybody was able to come together on one stage, and it was very exciting because I don't know if you watched Star Wars, where R2D2 delivers our secret message, and then boop, the Leia princess comes. And I was a young child when I was watching that, and it was in a science fiction movie, and now it became our reality, our part of our reality, where we can meet people and interact with people through the hologram. So this was another good example that I wanted to show you, which was the Culture Hub education programs. Now I want to move on to let me check the time. Okay, are you guys doing okay? Can I continue?
Yes,
or-
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We're okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I still can't see any of you through the Zoom. I don't know how to do this. It's very ironic. I'm talking about a high-tech technology and I can't bring in the Zoom windows. Okay, so I'll just believe you're there. Now I want to talk about the productions. Now, as I told you, we experimented lots of things in the classrooms, and then we developed them into a project. So these productions are connecting multi-locational, it's multimedia, and it's multicultural. So I wanted to show you a project. We did in 2017. It was called Hi-Fi, Wi-Fi, Sci-Fi. This project was an immersive theater experience that incorporated 360 degrees video and spatialized audio and telepresence and live web technology. And the story was coming from a collection of science fiction plays, which was written in 1968. Yes, 1968. So by this playwright, Robert Patrick. And now he was really ahead of his time because he predicted the concept of a telepresence prior to the invention of the internet. So we make this play into a 360-degree screen experience. So now once the audience enters the theater, they're surrounded by gigantic screens on all 4 sides. An audio system envelops the audience from all sides, and it's all in real time. So now the actors appear bigger than life projections on the screen. So it's kind of very humongous, immense. And some of the sequences were pre-recorded and some are live video feeds. And we connected with our New York studio. So there are 2 lovers trying to communicate through a video conferencing system. And Robert Patrick, this is why he was genius. He predicted there will be a latency problem. So there is a 5-second latency. So when one side they're saying, I love you. And, you know, as lovers, if one says, I love you, your instinct is like, you want to say, I love you back, right? But because of this 5 seconds delay, they could never truly communicate because they were always like a little late. and they were never able to really connect. So in a way, the play is funny and sad. And it's also amazing that the playwright was so ahead of his time. And it was interesting because now our technology developed to reduce this latency. But now we were forced to develop and recreate this latency, this delay to produce the effect of a 5-second delay reference in the play. So I want to show you a video showcasing which is the making of. So we invited a director from New York who worked with our students. Okay, so.
소리 지르는 거 아니라니까요.
정말 헷갈려요. 당신이 날 헷갈리게 만들고 듣고 있어요. 듣지 않는 거 당신이라고요. 그만.
So the boy is in our studio live and the girl is in New York studio, and they're both trying to communicate, as I told you, but they can't because of this delay.
동안 사람들은 그것을
창조되거나 파괴된 적이 없단다.
I want them to respond to work that was very clean. Is made out of the same materials. Yes. Yes, my name is Jason Trucco. I'm an artist and director from the United States.
이 현상을 알아채고는 새로운 역사들을 만들어냈습니다.
Yes, we're performing a piece called Hi-Fi, Sci-Fi, Wi-Fi, which is a collection of 2 plays by Robert Patrick that we're performing in conjunction with the Culture Hub and La Mama Theater in New York, in conjunction with Seoul Institute of the Arts here in Korea. Right now in our production process, we perform one of the plays telematically, meaning that we have one actress in New York, one actor here in Korea, and the play itself was performed with 2 characters on stage talking to one another as if they were communicating through a screen. But the system has a 5-second delay. The delay makes it impossible for them to communicate, and here it explores the challenges that technology might present, as well as the benefits that the technology might present. The second play is All in the Mind, which is a play about 2 characters that exist at a time when all of our consciousnesses have been connected through an electronic system. That means that we're all experiencing the same thing every time, and that I experience the same things that you do, and that everyone else does.
사랑해요.
그게 뭐죠? 뭐라고
듣고
말하는
있어요?
거예요? 말해줘요.
저
다시.
여기서
날
기다릴게요.
사랑한다고
오직
말하는 거예요?
당신만을.
나도 당신 사랑해요.
네,
내 말
그래요.
들려요?
저 당신 사랑한다고
그냥 내
그랬어요.
말을 들을 수가 있나요?
네, 정말 진심으로요.
난 당신을 볼 수가
너무나도
있어요.
사랑해요.
당신 손을 내밀고 있네요. 손을
내 말
앞으로 내밀고
들리면
있으면서 내 말을 들을
손을
수가
올려봐요.
있어요? 저기요.
두 손을 모아봐요.
저기요.
조용히 해, 아가야. 아가야, 더 이상 싸우는 일은 없으니까.
그리고 근래에 와서 그들은 기억이라는 것을 가지게 되었고 그것을 역사라고 불렀다.
그리고 참
Really delightful. I work very closely with La Mama Experimental Theater Club and Culture Hub in New York City. I feel like it's an institution that is my favorite place to work in the world, and Seoul Arts really is a part of that family. From the relationship that President Yu had with Ellen Stewart, who started the theater in New York, continuing to the collaborations that happen these days, it really feels like we're making the world a little bit smaller, and in some ways it felt to me like coming to visit and meeting my relatives in a foreign country. All the professors and students have been wonderful. I'm especially impressed by the quality of the students.
Okay, so that was our hi-fi, Wi-Fi, sci-fi. I don't know if you noticed, but I participated there as an actor. So on the screen, that was me smoking a cigarette. Okay, the next project. This is a collaboration between San Diego, New York, and Korea. This was a telematic audio visual concert involving musicians and visual artists in all 3 locations. So now you can see that our projects and our productions become more and more as we more experiment, we can try more challenging things. So we have continued to develop the practice of this telematic music performance. As I told you, music performance is very challenging because of the latency. The latency is an issue we have to work with so many problems, and we have to find creative ways to overcome this and use these limitations to actually our advantages. So this is a project, this image that I used is from a project title called Changing Tides, and the event linked artists all Seoul and New York and San Diego, and we used clear projection surfaces to create a holographic effect. Now, this was taken in Korea. Now, question, can you guess who are remote and who are actually on stage physically?
I think those at the back, ma'am, are the one that is not on stage.
Right.
And the
right.
ones in front are the ones on stage.
Yes, that's correct. So on the back are the artists that we brought in through telepresence, and we projected them on a scrim, so it has a holographic effect, right? So they all look like they're on stage, and also we kind of wanted to make them almost like exactly the same, so it's a life size. And our local artists, we use the same frames, so everybody's in that frame. So it's 10 artists, and they give an impression that everybody's on stage. I mean, they are on stage, they're just like really far away. And we use this live feed for the visuals. So
Ma'am,
yes, go ahead.
You mentioned that it's actually live, right?
Yes, it was live.
I think one good thing about that kind of production is basically the quality of internet connection that you're actually having there. That's one. Unfortunately, here in the Philippines, it's actually really slow. I mean, it's improving still. We still have like room for improvement, but it's actually nice having holographic images, which is actually being projected over the stage. And then, of course, the fact remains that it is actually live. But I just wanted to know, these are holographic and live performances, but the artists are actually within the building, but in separate rooms. Am I correct?
The artists behind the on the row behind, they're in San Diego.
Okay, because the concern is then probably your sound engineer is actually really good then.
It's as I told you, latency is a very, very challenging issue. Yes. And we used lots of different software programs to keep the delay very minimal. And I will show. Go ahead, Nico. I'm sorry.
Sorry, because I actually do sound engineering as well. So there is always a room for delays, room for errors, and knowing for a fact that if your internet connection is actually really slow, then it's not actually just -1 + 1. It's basically like about +10 -10. So the delays are actually really, really bad. But if the Culture Hub was able to pull this through or pull this out. And then congratulations, like really, really good job. I'm really hoping one day soon here in the Philippines we'll be able to do that one as well. The fact that it's actually being collaborated with New York actually sets it apart from the rest of the production. It's actually very difficult. Apart from the fact that you're actually having different time zones, and then different places at the same time, but being played live simultaneous. So that's actually really, really a challenge.
Yes, it's very challenging. And also as a producer, it's nerve-wracking. It's just, you can never, but somehow, you know what, somehow there's always this magic at the show. And somehow there are accidents. I'm not saying there weren't an accident, but that's what's so beautiful about art, I think, because we improvise, we find a way to improvise this. And also the mistakes becomes like a communal experience. But Miko, I not today and not next week, probably the week after, I'm gonna show you another sample, which I might at one point they had an orchestra, not from our school, but it's a project outside, and they connected local places. And they had a hard time with one area. So what they did, technically, what they did was they connected with the lowest internet connection speed. So because usually they're trying to like match the highest speed, right? And that's why they always have this gap. But the producer,
It's supposed to be the other way around.
Right. The producer, what they did is they connected with the lowest speed, and then that helped that then all the delays disappeared. So that's when I heard that, I thought that was genius. So because we're always like trying to catch up with the highest one, and it's not possible.
And another thing actually that is actually as a musician and a performer, it's if it's going to be live, there's this term in music, especially in pieces, it's what we call ad libitum, ad libs. So there is always room for errors in each production. So this even if it's not actually perfect, but since this is one thing good about live performances, because you can actually mask it, conceal it, and pretend as if nothing really happened. Unlike that, what we're normally doing here, everything is actually canned. Everything is actually recorded or pre-recorded. So there's no room for error. And then if ever you get to play that video, or there's an error with the audio that you actually used, then everybody gets to criticize it. So you have to be very, very careful with what you're actually doing. So this one here is actually really, really good. Very impressive.
Well, thank you. Let me show you a video clip of it. I will, so you can see like what kind. It was. They actually collaborated twice. One was in 2016, and then they made it another layer for this immersive audio and visual design, which was happened in 2020. So it was a telematic translocational concert. As I said, it uses holographic imaging techniques, live painting. The above, you see the process data visualizations, and it was about talking about the environmental issues, such as the climate crisis. So changing tides, it was talking about the global environmental problems. And it was jazz performances. So it was improvisers in Seoul and San Diego in California performing together. Okay, so let's see I'm going to show you one part which we used pansori. It's a Korean traditional folk singer's voice. It's like a few minutes, and I won't stop it. We'll just watch the whole thing for this number. Okay. I wanted to show you the in-between of each number as well, so I'll just play a little, few more minutes. There were also live audiences from San Diego, California. This is San Diego stage right now. So the visualizations you watch is the climate data, because I told you this was about the climate crisis. And the original compositions was integrating Korean music and jazz. So yeah, so that's the excerpt I brought in to show you today. So the collaboration used music and visuals, and it was intended to raise awareness of global environmental issues. And live video feed was combined with videos and live drawings. So this was also live. So we had a visual artist on stage mixing all these videos. And so this was addressing the need for global, in a double meaning, it's an urgent need for global collaboration, and blends all these things in a unique act of a collage. And this was also got grants from Arts Council Korea. So this was another example. And now I'm looking at the time. So I have more slides, but maybe it's better to stop here and just get a few impressions of what you've seen, like what your thoughts are, and then I will show you the rest next week. Does it sound okay? Because I didn't give you the second time break. I'm sorry. I kind of did I? Oh, I thought I lost you. Was I gone? No, I wasn't gone. Sorry. Okay. So, any thoughts to share? Did I make you all sleepy?
No, Miss Kim, you're so beautiful.
We're excited, Miss Kim. The topic is very interesting and relevant to us. I'm excited for the next 4 weeks of lessons that you will impart to us, because we really need it. No, we really need the insight as to how we can do performances via online, and build up our telepresence as theater organizations. Nakamute.
Oh, I think you're Marjor, right? You're muted.
Hello, ma'am.
Still can't. Oh, yes. Hi.
Okay. While watching your lecture, ma'am, and the videos, I felt goosebumps. And at the same time, I felt envy because of the technology that you had, and wish that I hope you could also experience here at the Philippines, especially in Davao City, no? But I know it's impossible. Filipinos know that we are really having a hard time in internet connection, but we are hopeful. But with your help and with your ideas, we'll be able to come up the same here. I was inspired with the pictures that you showed us, especially in the theater stage. I was imagining, while looking at the pictures, that is possible in my school. If we only have funds, maybe we could produce a simple room, a small room with an elevated chairs and a small stage. That will really be helpful to my students to be more inspired to perform. Thank you for the picture.
No, thank you for sharing your thoughts.
In addition, Miss Kim, while watching the examples or the performances, especially the live ones, I am actually, it's a wow, big wow, because actually this year, last February, in celebration of the National Arts Month, we in our institution offered a 4-day workshop with our students in performing arts to give them room to breathe, actually. So one of the tasks or one of the output that were asked to them was to perform using or perform live in through Google Meet. So because I am now located in Silay Institute and our place is not far from the city, and internet connection is very very bad. So we use the the Google Meet for their live performances, and the connection is very it was very challenging. And seeing your examples, the things that Korea is doing or has been doing for 10 years, it's very inspiring. Thank you so much for this learning, for tonight's learning, and we are very excited for the days to come to be inspired more and to learn more from Korea. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. As I told you, it wasn't easy. It was like having to go through so many trials and errors. And when you present it, I'm aware when I present it like this, it looks all like very easy, but had to go through so many failures as well, and it's kind of lonely to do this because it's not guaranteed, right? And I think it applies to everything that you're trying. It's you're experimenting because you don't know the end result, and that's why I'm keep saying that it's about what story do you want to tell. It's not about technology. Yes, technology, it's with not stable connection, it becomes very challenging, even more challenging, because how do you stay connected to communicate, because it's about the communication. But as I told Miko before, if you use the limitations, right, and don't feel that as a limitation, but actually somehow use that, incorporate that, I think that's where the magic of theatrical arts lies in. Because it's all about giving an illusion, right? We're not creating the real thing. We're creating an illusion. We're telling a story with the help of these. So it's what's most important is the storytelling, and you have to know your medium, right? What's the characteristics of this medium so that I can use my storytelling with this medium. So those are the where I think we should really think about it. And I said it in the beginning that today I'm just going to show you like good examples, like some outstanding examples what we've been doing. But also from next week, well, after I finish my presentation, which I haven't done today, we will talk about what is happening now in the world, right? What's pandemic, how it's affecting us. And technology is it's going faster and faster, right? I told you I'm a very late adapter with technology. You can see from my Zoom thingy, like I can't even find you guys. And but now the world is interacting with technology in a totally different way, right? My friend's daughter, when she first saw television, she went up to the television and swiped. Like she thought it was a tablet, so you can just swipe it. So like that's how she interacts with technology. That's how she interacts with the digital platform. I have a little boy, not so little, well, little boy, and like 8 years ago, I changed my television system, which came with a little machine that had a virtual assistant. So it's like when you use iPhone, you have Siri, right? So you have to talk like, hi Siri. You have to learn how to talk to your phone, right? And this television, his name was Genie. So you have to talk to Genie. So you know, back in the days, we had to get up to change channels and go in front of the television and press, and then we come back. And now we have a remote control, right? So we sit and we just press a button, and even that is called too complicated. So now we talk to a machine who will change the channels for you, right? And when it first came, I had to learn how to speak to Genie. Like I had to always call his name, like, hey Genie, and then he would react. And then I would have to like say my request, which was very awkward for me because I'm not used to talking to a machine. But my boy, who was back then like 5, 6 years old, it was natural for him. He would have a conversation like he's talking to a friend. He would say, hey Genie, what's up? And then the machine would answer like how the machine is feeling. And for me, I would like, it would be so awkward for me to say, please change the channel, you know, like I was the one who was speaking like a robot. But my son was so naturally speaking, talking, having a conversation, and even making a joke. And the machine understands the joke and says something like, ha ha, that's very funny, or something like that. But what I'm saying with this episode is the younger generation, they have a totally different interaction, communication skills, right? It's much more natural, it's much more organic. And I think you also have much better understanding of interacting with technology. Right. So it's not something we have to resist. It's something we have to incorporate and use it wisely so we can have a better effective ways of what we want to do. Right. So those are the things I think we will be talking about from next week. And it's been a pleasure. I'm sorry I didn't give you a second break. I was promising myself I'm going to give them 2 breaks, and somehow I got into this story. Next week, I'll try to be more accurate with my time management. So I'll see you guys next Friday.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, Professor, do you have a homework for us so that we'll be able to like go over it?
Do you really want a homework?
No, mom.
I would like to, I'm going to ask you to think about what changes COVID-19 brought us, not necessarily into arts, because we will naturally go through it, but in our lives. Just think about it, just so that maybe we can discuss this next week if we have the time. And also in 2 weeks time, I would like you to, so I'm giving, since you asked for homework, I'm giving like 2 weeks homework. You get what you want. To do some research on how telepresence is used in theater. Like I'm giving you like examples of from my experience, but also in the world. And it doesn't have to be so extravagant. Like I know what I showed you today is kind of it looks very fancy, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be very simple exercises, but what people have been using. And so because we need to brainstorm, right? We want to have this as a tool, and we want to kind of try it when you go back to your lives as an artist or as a teacher or as a practitioner. So let's do that research, and in 2 weeks time we will just talk about what you found and also try to show you some examples. Right. So telepresence can be like in a very specific, very narrow way, or it could apply to a very vague way. So, but just using technology in theater practices. So on the 3rd week, we can talk about this, and if we don't have time, we'll move on to the 4th week. That's why I kept the 4th week kind of open so we can discuss lots of things and share. Okay. So I'll see you next Saturday. I'm sorry, next Friday. Next Friday at my time 7, your time 6. And by the way, do you have time for dinner? You can have dinner?
Yes.
Oh, you don't have. Okay. I'm sorry, Moi, that you are shaking your head, but we can. Yeah. Well, I'll give you a break next week. Alrighty, so it was very nice seeing you. Can I take a group photo here? Just to.
Sure.
Okay.
We'll take a screenshot as well.
As a what?
A screenshot.
A screenshot. Yeah, that's also good.
Yeah.
Can somebody take it? It will take me really long time. Oh, okay, good.
I know. So I'd like to request everybody to please open their cams. Hi. Okay, ready? 1, 2. One more. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'll see you guys next Friday.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye. Keep safe. Bye, classmates.
Goodbye. Goodbye. It's time to see you go. Bye. See you
Bye,
tomorrow,
classmates.
classmates.
Kuya Javir.
Wala na-
Kuya
wala
Javir.
mang-
Kuya
wala
Javir.
mang-
Nabay nga to sa CCP, di ba? Katong Virgin Love Fest last time.
Asa?
Pero recorded mo. Ito katong Wanted Mail Borders. Di ba, Lai?
Oh,
Ella?
recorded to. Ila tong giset ang ano. Ang
Pero magiging ato ilang concept. Virgin Love Fest.
ang placement sa video ila tong
Hi, Ate
gi-edit.
Lai. Yeah.
Sir Tat. Sir Tat.
Hi, Sir Tats. Hi, bye, Ma'am Marjorie.
So, wala lang mga sala ba?
Bye, Ma'am Mary Grace.
Pero yung mga sala. Ay, Ma'am Kier. Kumusta sa California, Ma'am Kier?
It's really cold in here.
Sir Tat, nasa Singapore si Sir Tat.
Hi, Sir Ma'am Mai. Sir Ma.
Hi,
Ay,
guys.
dinner na.
Sana all.
Bye, Ma'am Kim Jong. Bye, Lai.